Welcome to Fall Asleep Channel. Tonight, journey through the quiet daily rhythms of grazing flocks, their bodies, senses, and steady adaptation to land and seasons. A calm narrative with interesting facts. If you enjoy peaceful stories like this, you are warmly invited to subscribe and return whenever you need to slow down. Now allow yourself to get comfortable and enjoy quiet and pleasant rest. Let's begin. High ridges once held quiet lines of movement, narrow paths traced along stone and sparse grass, where wind passed low over slopes and the ground shifted under steady steps. In those places, long before open fields, small groups of mountain descendants moved with careful pacing, their bodies shaped by uneven ground, their legs set at angles that favored balance, their hooves formed with firm outer edges and softer inner pads, allowing grip on rock, soil, and thin layers of frost. These grazers carried dense coats even in early seasons, fibers growing close to the skin, trapping still air near the surface of the body, reducing heat loss during long hours of cool exposure. Skin beneath the fleece supported slow exchange of warmth, blood flow adjusting in small vessels near the surface, allowing regulation without sudden shifts. Feeding followed a steady rhythm, heads lowering, lips sorting stems from gravel. Short plants preferred in early light, tougher growth taken later as the sun rose. Intake happened slowly, not in quick pulls, but in repeated small bites, each followed by brief pauses. Inside, a complex system worked without urgency, several chambers arranged for gradual breakdown. Plant matter entering first spaces where moisture and warmth met large communities of microorganisms, bacteria and protozoa processing cellulose, releasing simple compounds that could pass onward, fermentation producing gentle warmth, contributing to overall body temperature, digestion continuing even during still moments of rest. Movement across slopes remained coordinated. Individuals rarely strayed far from nearby bodies, spacing maintained through subtle shifts in direction, small turns, brief stops, then continuation, not through signals that carried meaning, but through responses to position and pace. Vision supported this pattern, eyes placed to the sides, granting wide peripheral fields, allowing detection of motion across long arcs of landscape, focus shifting without full head movement, shadows crossing grass becoming part of constant sensory flow. Hearing also remained active, outer ears turning in small increments, catching changes in wind, distant movement, or soft sounds from nearby hooves. Reactions were not abrupt, only slight pauses, brief lifting of the head, then return to feeding pace. As terrain gradually opened into broader valleys, grasslands replaced stone, seasonal growth offered longer feeding periods, softer plants, deeper soil, hooves now pressing into ground rather than gripping ledges, yet still shaped for uneven patches and gentle inclines. These conditions favored longer stays in single areas, less daily climbing, more extended grazing cycles, slow arcs across meadows, following fresh growth as it appeared. Coats changed with seasons, fibers lengthening when temperatures dropped, shedding in warmer months, loose strands collecting on shrubs and rocks, providing insulation for other small animals. While new growth continued close to the skin, body temperature remained within narrow limits, maintained through insulation, blood flow, and metabolic heat from fermentation, without the need for rapid changes in behavior. Over time, proximity to human-managed spaces increased. Open grasslands maintained by cutting and grazing cycles, movement guided by fences rather than cliffs. paths now following gentle contours instead of steep ridges. Selection gradually favored individuals that adapted to repeated handling, tolerance of closer grouping, acceptance of regular movement between fields, not through awareness, but through physical compatibility with such conditions. Variation became more visible, coats differing in texture and length, body size shifting to suit colder hills or warmer plains, limb proportions adjusting for distance walking rather than climbing. The flock now moved in wider shapes, sometimes spreading across open fields, sometimes gathering near shaded edges, still maintaining spacing that reduced interference while feeding. Pacing remained slow, consistent, heads rising only briefly before lowering again. Digestion continuing in background cycles. During rest, bodies folded close to ground, limbs tucked, weight distributed to avoid pressure points, breathing slow and steady. Microbial activity continuing inside multi-chambered systems, keeping energy supply constant even without intake. Night brought little change to internal rhythms. Temperature regulation maintained. Sound sensitivity still active, but movement minimal. Energy conserved. With daylight, grazing resumed, following patterns shaped by plant growth rather than fixed routes. The flock drifting gradually across pasture, responding to density of stems, moisture in soil, shade patterns shifting through the day. Wool growth remained continuous, fibers lengthening at rates influenced by nutrition and daylight, not synchronized to calendar months, but guided by internal responses to environment. Shearing cycles introduced later removed accumulated fleece, allowing heat release in warm seasons. Then regrowth began again. Hooves required regular wear, walking across varied surfaces helping maintain natural shape, edges rounding, inner surfaces staying resilient, supporting even weight distribution. Even in managed fields, ancient adjustments persisted, limb joints still absorbing uneven ground, muscles coordinating fine corrections, balance maintained through small shifts rather than large movements. Grazing stayed unhurried, a pattern of steady intake, pause, chewing, swallowing, repeating without sharp transitions. Sound within the flock remained low. Occasional soft contact noises, the constant brushing of wool, the light tap of hooves against soil, wind passing through stems. The landscape became part of daily rhythm, hills shaping walking effort, water sources setting slow arcs of movement, shade defining rest points. Across these cycles, no single moment marked change, only gradual adjustment. Pacing shaped by terrain, feeding shaped by plant structure, bodies shaped by long sequences of similar days. And as the flock continued across open ground, the quiet system of movement, digestion, sensing, and regulation carried on without interruption, flowing into the next stretch of grazing, where grass grew slightly taller and the earth felt softer under each steady step. The softer ground allowed longer grazing in single areas, stems bending easily under repeated contact, roots holding moisture that supported steady regrowth, feeding paths forming gentle curves rather than sharp lines. As the flock shifted through these spaces, spacing adjusted with subtle precision, bodies neither crowded nor widely scattered, distance regulated by pace rather than direction. When one slowed, others followed the same gradual change. Sensing remained constant, wide fields of view collecting motion at the edges, ears turning in small arcs to sample surrounding sound, responses staying minimal. A brief pause, then continuation. Sunlight influenced daily patterns, not as a strict clock, but through changes in plant moisture and temperature. early hours offering softer fibers, later hours bringing drier stems that required longer chewing. Chewing followed a repeated cycle, jaws moving in slow circular paths, saliva mixing with plant matter, buffering fermentation inside the first chambers of digestion, maintaining stable conditions for microbial communities. These microorganisms varied in type and activity, some specializing in breaking down cellulose, others processing starches, together converting complex fibers into usable energy, releasing gases that moved gently through the system and exited without disturbance to breathing rhythm. This internal process allowed long periods without new intake, energy drawn from previous grazing, keeping muscles supplied during rest or slow movement. Water intake occurred at steady intervals, bodies approaching streams or troughs without urgency, small groups forming loose lines, drinking in short sequences, then returning to nearby grass. Limb structure supported this pacing, joints aligned to distribute force evenly, tendons storing and releasing small amounts of energy with each step, reducing overall effort across long distances. Body mass remained centered low to the ground, enhancing stability on uneven surfaces, reducing sway when stepping over shallow dips or patches of loose soil. Across different regions, variation increased. In cooler climates, denser fleece reduced heat loss. In warmer zones, lighter coats allowed airflow near the skin, fiber thickness and curl patterns shifting through selective breeding and environmental influence. Some lineages developed longer legs for broader ranges. Others remained compact for steeper slopes. Differences visible even when movement patterns stayed similar. The flock continued to operate as a distributed unit. No fixed leader. Direction emerging from combined responses to terrain, vegetation, and spacing. When front animals shifted slightly, the rest followed through gradual alignment. This pattern reduced sudden changes, maintaining smooth flow across fields, conserving energy while covering ground. During periods of rest, bodies settled into positions that minimized strain, heads lowering close to forelegs, eyes remaining open or half closed, still collecting light and shadow. Temperature regulation continued during stillness, fleece holding warm air near the skin, blood flow adjusting slowly in surface vessels, preventing overheating or excessive cooling. Seasonal shifts altered pasture structure, spring growth providing soft, nutrient-rich stems, summer bringing firmer grasses and deeper root systems, autumn introducing seed heads and dry matter, winter reducing available forage and increasing reliance on stored plant material within the digestive system. In managed systems, supplemental feeding extended these cycles, allowing consistent intake even when fields rested, yet internal rhythms of digestion and fermentation remained unchanged. Wool growth persisted regardless of pasture type, fibers lengthening continuously, guided by hormonal signals linked to daylight, shedding patterns influenced by temperature and nutrition rather than strict dates. After removal of fleece, skin responded with increased blood flow, supporting rapid fiber regrowth, while maintaining protection through underlying layers. Hooves adapted to repeated walking on soil rather than stone, wearing into flatter surfaces, still retaining tough outer walls to protect sensitive inner tissue. Periodic trimming in managed settings maintaining balance and joint alignment. Movement across gently rolling land required less correction, allowing more even strides. Muscles working in smooth sequences rather than sharp adjustments. Sound environments changed as well. Fewer echoes from rock, more absorption by grass and soil, creating softer acoustic conditions. Subtle noises traveling shorter distances. This influenced spacing only slightly. hearing still serving as background sensing rather than directional guidance. Across long hours of grazing, intake accumulated slowly, filling digestive chambers in stages, fermentation progressing continuously, providing a steady release of nutrients, avoiding sharp rises or drops in energy availability. This stability supported consistent behavior patterns. No rapid bursts of activity, no extended periods of complete stillness during daylight, only gentle shifts between feeding and resting, even when weather altered surface conditions. Light rain softening soil, wind flattening grass, bodies adjusted through posture and step length rather than changes in overall pace. Coats shed water efficiently, outer fibers directing moisture away from the skin, preserving insulation even in damp conditions. As days followed similar structures, long-term adjustments shaped overall form, muscle tone reflecting habitual movement, bone density responding to repeated loading, digestive efficiency refining through stable microbial populations. Across generations, these features accumulated, producing animals well-suited to prolonged grazing in open environments, maintaining health through gradual intake and constant low-level activity. And as the flock continued across the pasture, the rhythm remained unbroken, steps steady, chewing consistent, sensing ongoing, the landscape offering slight variations without altering the underlying pattern of movement and feeding, flowing onward toward areas where grass thickened near shallow water, and shade shifted slowly with the passing light. Near shallow water, plant density increased, stems thicker, leaves broader, moisture retained longer through warm hours. Feeding slowed further as chewing time extended, intake remaining steady while jaw cycles lengthened, saliva production supporting buffering inside fermentation chambers, keeping microbial conditions stable even as plant types shifted. Microorganisms adjusted populations in response to fiber content, some increasing when cellulose levels rose, others declining when starch became less available. This balance maintained consistent nutrient flow into later digestive chambers, preventing sharp fluctuations in energy supply. Movement patterns adjusted only slightly in these richer zones. Spacing widened as feeding time per plant increased, reducing overlap and allowing uninterrupted intake. Peripheral vision continued to monitor nearby bodies, changes in distance registered without head turning, ears rotating in slow arcs to track ambient sound, mostly wind and grass, occasional contact between hooves and soil, no sudden responses, only brief pauses when sound patterns shifted. Limb muscles worked in repeating low-force contractions, tendons absorbing small impacts and returning energy to each step, minimizing fatigue across long grazing sessions, joints aligned to maintain even load distribution, cartilage surfaces remaining lubricated through steady movement, preventing stiffness even after extended standing. Water intake occurred when internal signals accumulated, bodies approaching edges in loose sequences, drinking briefly, then rejoining nearby feeding paths. This reduced crowding and preserved steady pacing. Temperature regulation adjusted subtly with sun angle, fleece allowing gradual heat release through air movement between fibers, skin vessels dilating slightly during warmer intervals, contracting again as shade increased, preventing both overheating and rapid cooling. Cloud cover altered light without disrupting rhythm, feeding continuing through diffuse brightness, eyes adapting to reduced contrast while maintaining wide fields of view. This supported continuous monitoring of surrounding motion, even when visual cues softened. Seasonal insects appeared around water, yet responses remained minimal. Small shifts in position avoided contact without interrupting intake. bodies maintaining steady orientation toward available forage. Across different regions, pasture composition varied, some dominated by fine grasses, others by mixed herbs and low shrubs. Digestive systems processed these differences through microbial diversity rather than behavioral change. Fermentation adjusting output based on available substrates, maintaining consistent nutrient absorption downstream. This flexibility allowed occupation of broad ecological ranges, from cool uplands to warmer lowlands, without alteration of core feeding rhythm. Coat characteristics reflected these environments: longer fibers in colder zones, shorter, lighter fleece in warmer areas, curl patterns influencing air retention and moisture shedding, all contributing to stable internal temperature across varied climates. Breeding practices later amplified these traits, selecting for wool density, fiber length, body size, limb proportions, creating distinct groups adapted to specific production systems. Yet foundational physiology remained shared: multi-chambered digestion, wide peripheral vision, slow pacing, steady intake, group movement governed by spacing rather than command. Management introduced new movement patterns, periodic transfers between fields, loading into enclosed spaces. Yet adaptation occurred through tolerance of proximity and handling, not through alteration of feeding or sensory processes. After release, grazing resumed immediately, internal cycles continuing uninterrupted. Hooves in managed areas encountered firmer surfaces, compacted soil, gravel paths, edges wearing differently. But structural strength of hoof walls maintained protection. Periodic trimming restored balance when natural wear became insufficient, preventing uneven loading across joints. Rest periods followed similar structure, bodies lowering gradually, limbs folding under mass, heads aligning close to ground, eyes remaining partially open, continuing to collect light and motion, digestive activity proceeding without pause, gases released slowly, heat from fermentation contributing to core temperature during cooler intervals. Night brought quieter sound environments, reduced insect activity, cooler air, but internal rhythms persisted. Feeding resumed at dawn without transition period. Microbial populations already active, ready to process new intake. Long-term exposure to repetitive cycles shaped endocrine regulation, hormone levels aligning with daylight length, influencing wool growth, appetite, and seasonal adjustments in metabolism. These signals operated gradually, avoiding abrupt shifts in behavior or physiology. Across landscapes shaped by both natural growth and human management, the flock continued its steady progression, not defined by endpoints, only by availability of forage and spacing between bodies, each step connecting to the next, each chewing cycle flowing into another, movement and digestion linked through slow, continuous adjustment. And as grazing carried on through gentle variations of light, moisture, and plant structure, the quiet system of sensing, pacing, and regulation remained stable, extending forward without pause into the next stretch of open ground where grass thinned slightly and the soil became firmer again. Where soil firmed and grass thinned, step length adjusted without change in overall pace, hooves contacting ground with slightly sharper sound, still soft, still even, weight transferring smoothly through limb joints, muscles continuing low-level activity without fatigue, feeding paths now extended across wider arcs, stems more spaced, requiring slow forward movement between bites, intake remaining constant through gradual repositioning, heads lifting only briefly to align with nearby bodies before lowering again. Digestion continued its layered process, plant fibers entering initial chambers, fermentation releasing small amounts of heat and nutrients, microbial populations responding to minor changes in moisture and fiber density, maintaining stable breakdown of cellulose across variable pasture types. This internal stability supported consistent body condition through long grazing seasons, regardless of daily shifts in plant structure. Temperature regulation followed similar principles: fleece thickness and airflow balancing external warmth, surface blood vessels adjusting diameter over minutes rather than seconds, preventing sudden thermal stress. Shade from distant trees created cooler zones, bodies entering and leaving these areas gradually, avoiding sharp transitions. Vision remained adapted to broad fields, movement at the edges of sight guiding spacing and direction, ears continuing small rotations, sampling ambient sound without focusing on specific sources, responses remaining limited to slight changes in posture or pace. Across years, repeated exposure to managed cycles shaped long-term patterns: regular movement between fields, seasonal relocation to different grazing zones, shelter use during extreme weather. Yet the underlying behaviors of feeding and spacing remained unchanged. Only external constraints altered available area. Breeding programs further diversified form, some groups carrying heavier fleece for fiber production, others maintaining shorter coats for warmer climates. Body mass adjusted to terrain and forage availability, but all retained the same digestive architecture and sensory layout. This consistency allowed transfer between systems without disruption of core rhythms. Lambing seasons introduced temporary increases in grouping density, yet spacing during grazing quickly returned to established patterns. Intake rates adjusting to higher nutritional demand through longer feeding periods rather than faster consumption. Milk production drawing on steady fermentation output. Microbial efficiency playing a central role in sustaining energy flow. Over generations, these interactions between environment, management, and physiology produced animals optimized for prolonged, low-intensity activity, capable of maintaining condition through continuous gentle motion and slow intake, not through bursts of effort or rapid feeding. Soundscapes shifted with location, open plains offering distant wind, enclosed valleys carrying soft echoes. Yet auditory processing remained background sensing rather than focal attention, bodies responding only when patterns changed enough to affect spacing or footing. Seasonal coat shedding altered insulation gradually, loose fibers falling away over weeks, exposing shorter layers beneath. Regrowth beginning before full loss of previous fleece, ensuring uninterrupted thermal protection. Skin oils assisting moisture control, keeping fibers flexible and resistant to matting. Hooves continued to reflect walking surfaces, harder ground producing flatter wear, softer soil preserving rounded edges. Periodic human maintenance compensating where natural abrasion was insufficient, preserving joint alignment and reducing strain. Rest periods followed consistent distribution across day and night. Shorter pauses during active grazing, longer stillness during low light. Yet digestive cycles never paused. Fermentation and nutrient absorption continuing regardless of posture, maintaining baseline metabolism. As seasons passed, subtle shifts accumulated rather than abrupt transitions. Pasture composition changing slowly, daylight length altering hormonal signals, fleece density adjusting over weeks, all processes aligned with gradual environmental change. No single moment marked a beginning or an end, only continuous adaptation. and as the flock moved onward across fields shaped by weather, growth, and gentle management, the same quiet systems of sensing, digestion, and regulation extended forward, step following step, chewing following chewing, spacing maintained through peripheral awareness, internal balance preserved through microbial work and slow physiological adjustment. Movement carrying on into open stretches where grass and soil blended into familiar textures, and the steady rhythm continued without conclusion, suitable for repeating paths, repeating days, repeating seasons, flowing back into the same calm patterns of grazing and rest, without a final pause, without a closing signal, only ongoing motion across soft ground under wide open air. Beyond the familiar textures of soil and grass, small variations continued to appear. Patches where moisture lingered after light rain, areas where wind kept surfaces drier, feeding paths bending gently around these differences, intake remaining steady while step placement adjusted in fine increments, hooves responding to firmness through subtle changes in pressure, distributing weight to maintain balance without slowing pace, joints continuing smooth cycles of extension and flexion, cartilage surfaces supported by steady fluid movement, preventing stiffness even after long periods of standing and grazing. Microbial activity inside the first chambers remained the central driver of energy flow. Fiber particles suspended in warm liquid, gases forming and moving upward slowly, nutrients released and passed along through later compartments, absorption occurring gradually across intestinal surfaces, supplying muscles and organs with constant low-level input, preventing sharp rises or drops in metabolic demand. This allowed muscles to operate in sustained, low-intensity modes, favoring endurance rather than speed. Posture during feeding minimized strain, necks angled downward with even curvature, shoulders aligned to distribute load across forelimbs, hind limbs supporting propulsion during short forward steps, the spine maintaining gentle, stable alignment. Vision continued to collect information across wide lateral fields, motion at the edges prompting slight shifts in spacing, keeping individuals aligned without need for focused attention, ears adjusting position in response to changing sound density, wind moving through vegetation, distant hoof contact, soft environmental noise shaping background awareness, but not triggering rapid movement, coat fibers interacting with air and moisture, outer layers directing water away from skin, inner layers retaining pockets of still air, insulation maintained across temperature changes that unfolded over hours rather than minutes. This prevented thermal stress and reduced need for behavioral compensation. As daylight length altered through the year, feeding windows expanded or contracted gradually, longer days allowing extended grazing, shorter days compressing intake into fewer hours, yet total consumption balanced through digestive efficiency rather than hurried feeding. Endocrine signals guided appetite and wool growth in slow alignment with seasonal cycles, hormones shifting concentration over weeks, influencing follicle activity and metabolic rate without abrupt change. Across managed landscapes, rotational grazing introduced intervals of rest for pasture, vegetation recovering while animals shifted to adjacent areas, movement guided by barriers but internal rhythms remaining unchanged. Once new fields opened, grazing resumed immediately at the same unhurried pace. Body condition maintained through continuity rather than surplus. Variation among breeds remained visible in fleece texture, body size, and limb length, yet locomotion patterns and feeding behavior stayed consistent, indicating shared physiological foundations despite external diversity. This consistency supported adaptability across climates, from damp coastal plains to dry inland regions. Digestive systems processing local plant species with microbial communities, adjusting composition rather than requiring behavioral change. Water needs remained modest relative to body size, intake occurring in brief, efficient visits, kidneys regulating fluid balance to conserve resources during drier periods, maintaining stable blood volume and temperature. Rest postures supported circulation, limbs folded to reduce muscle tension, pressure distributed to avoid restricted blood flow, allowing long stationary periods without discomfort. As light faded, sound became more prominent in sensory input, wind, insects, and distant environmental noise forming a soft acoustic layer. Ears continuing slow rotations, tracking shifts without directing movement. Night did not interrupt digestion or metabolic balance. Fermentation and nutrient absorption continued at constant rates, supporting baseline temperature and muscle tone. With dawn, grazing resumed in the same quiet manner. No acceleration, no hesitation, simply continuation of the previous rhythm, as if movement and feeding were part of an unbroken sequence rather than separate daily events. Across years, this pattern produced animals suited to stability rather than variability, capable of sustaining health through predictability and gradual adjustment, not through rapid response. And as the flock progressed across yet another stretch of open ground, grass bending under repeated contact and rising again after passage, the same systems remained in operation, sensing through wide vision and soft hearing, pacing through low-force muscle cycles, digestion through layered fermentation and absorption, temperature through insulation and slow vascular control, all continuing in balanced coordination, extending forward without marker or boundary, suitable for returning to the same points again and again and again, in a steady loop of grazing and gentle movement across quiet land under open sky. In areas where grass met low shrubs, feeding behavior adjusted through selection rather than speed, lips sorting finer leaves from thicker stems, intake remaining controlled, chewing cycles extending slightly to process tougher fibers, saliva buffering maintaining stable fermentation despite shifts in plant structure, microbial populations responding through gradual change in relative abundance, some increasing activity on woody material, others maintaining breakdown of softer components, together sustaining steady nutrient flow, step placement adapted to uneven roots and small rises, hooves finding purchase without visible effort, inner pads compressing to absorb minor impacts, outer walls protecting sensitive tissue from abrasion, limb joints continuing smooth arcs, muscles engaging in low-force repetition, conserving energy across long distances. Body orientation remained aligned with grazing direction rather than external landmarks. Movement guided by forage distribution and spacing rather than fixed routes. This produced drifting paths that curved and overlapped across pasture without forming strict trails. Vision continued to monitor lateral motion, maintaining cohesion without clustering, ears sampling ambient sound patterns, detecting shifts in wind and vegetation movement more than discrete events, responses staying limited to posture and spacing rather than directional change. Thermal balance remained supported by fleece structure, outer fibers shedding moisture and debris, inner layers maintaining air pockets that reduced heat exchange, skin vessels adjusting flow slowly, preventing rapid temperature fluctuations. This allowed grazing to continue through mild rain and shifting sun without behavioral disruption. Across broader regions, altitude influenced plant composition and air temperature. Higher ground offering shorter growth and cooler conditions, lower ground providing denser forage and warmer air. Yet movement between these zones occurred gradually. Internal physiology accommodating change through regulation rather than altered behavior. Reproductive cycles followed seasonal cues, daylight length influencing hormonal patterns that prepared bodies for increased nutritional demand. Yet feeding rates increased through extended grazing time rather than accelerated intake, energy supplied by fermentation scaling smoothly with demand, ensuring stability in body condition. Offspring growth depended on consistent nutrient transfer, supported by steady milk production derived from continuous digestion rather than stored reserves. This reduced reliance on short-term dietary abundance and favored long-term balance. Across managed systems, shelter use during colder periods altered exposure to wind and precipitation, but internal thermal regulation and digestion continued unchanged, fleece maintaining insulation, fermentation contributing metabolic heat, blood flow adjusting to preserve core temperature. Movement patterns within enclosed spaces remained similar to open pasture, slow walking, steady feeding when forage available, spacing adjusting to boundaries without altering pace. Sound environments shifted indoors, echoes softer and closer, yet auditory processing remained background sensing rather than focused attention, bodies responding only to changes that affected footing or spacing. Over time, repeated exposure to similar daily structures reinforced physiological stability, circadian rhythms aligning with light, feeding cycles aligning with pasture availability, wool growth aligning with hormonal patterns, all processes operating on gradual curves rather than sharp transitions. This promoted resilience to small environmental fluctuations while maintaining overall consistency. As weather patterns varied across years, pasture growth responded with slight shifts in timing and density, yet grazing systems adjusted through rotation and management, allowing animals to continue steady intake without interruption. Internal microbial communities adapted to new plant species introduced through seeding or natural spread, adjusting enzyme production and fermentation rates, maintaining nutrient extraction efficiency across changing forage types. This adaptability reduced the need for behavioral change, allowing feeding to remain uniform even as plant composition shifted. Posture during rest continued to support circulation and muscle recovery. Weight distributed evenly, joints aligned to prevent localized strain, breathing slow and regular, oxygen supply matching low metabolic demand, digestion proceeding without pause. Across these repeating cycles, no distinct endpoints appeared, only continuous sequences of intake, processing, movement, and rest, each blending into the next without separation. And as the flock moved onward across land shaped by subtle gradients of moisture, light, and vegetation, the same quiet coordination of sensing, pacing, digestion, and regulation extended forward, step following step, chewing following chewing, internal balance maintained through microbial work and slow physiological control, movement flowing into stillness and back into movement without disruption, suitable for repeating paths and repeating seasons. Where open ground widened again, wind moved more freely across the surface, carrying cooler air through fleece fibers, outer layers shifting slightly while inner layers remained still. Insulation preserved even as air flowed around the body, temperature regulation responding through gradual vascular adjustment rather than changes in activity. Grazing continued at the same measured pace, stems bending and rising again after passage, plant recovery beginning almost immediately, allowing repeated use of the same areas over time. Intake distributed evenly across space rather than concentrated in single patches, reducing pressure on any one section of pasture. This pattern supported long-term forage availability and stable movement routes. Digestive chambers continued their slow sequence, material passing from fermentation to absorption, nutrients entering circulation at steady rates, liver and muscle tissue receiving constant low-level supply, preventing accumulation of excess and avoiding depletion. Metabolic balance maintained without spikes in demand. Posture during standing and feeding remained efficient, skeletal alignment distributing weight across joints, minimizing localized strain, muscle fibers operating primarily in endurance modes, supported by aerobic metabolism and continuous nutrient delivery. Vision continued to register broad motion fields, spacing adjustments occurring through peripheral detection rather than focused observation. Ears turning gently to sample shifting sound textures, wind in grass, distant movement, soft contact between bodies, no sudden orientation changes, only slight repositioning when distance narrowed or widened. Over long periods, this sensory economy conserved energy, avoiding unnecessary reactions while maintaining environmental awareness. Fleece growth remained continuous, follicles producing fibers at rates influenced by nutrition and daylight, not by short-term temperature changes. This ensured stable coverage through variable weather, shedding occurring gradually as older fibers loosened and fell away, replaced by new growth without gaps in insulation. Hooves continued to reflect terrain, subtle wear patterns forming in response to soil firmness and walking distance, natural abrasion maintaining shape where movement was sufficient, human care compensating where surfaces became too soft or uniform, preserving balance and joint health across managed cycles, grazing rotations synchronized animal movement with plant recovery, but internal rhythms remained unchanged, feeding, digestion, and rest continuing in the same sequence regardless of field boundaries. This allowed smooth transitions between areas without stress to physiological systems. Water intake remained efficient and brief, kidneys regulating electrolyte balance to support muscle and nerve function during long, low-intensity activity, blood volume maintained within narrow limits, supporting stable circulation and temperature control. Rest during low light followed the same structural pattern, bodies lowering slowly, limbs folding under mass, respiration steady, heart rate remaining low, digestion proceeding through fermentation and absorption without pause, energy supply continuing even without active intake. With returning light, movement resumed in the same gradual manner. No shift in urgency, only continuation of established rhythm, feeding paths overlapping previous ones, spacing maintained through familiar peripheral sensing. Across seasons and years, this continuity shaped overall form and function, bodies tuned for stability, systems tuned for slow adjustment, behavior tuned for sustained low-effort activity rather than rapid response or high output. The landscape, whether shaped by natural growth or gentle management, remained the primary variable, offering differences in plant structure, moisture, and shade, while the internal systems responded through regulation rather than behavioral change. And as the flock moved onward across quiet ground, the same processes remained in motion, sensing through wide vision and soft hearing, pacing through low-force muscle cycles, digestion through layered fermentation and gradual absorption, temperature through insulation and slow vascular control, spacing through gentle adjustment to nearby bodies, all continuing in balanced coordination, without signal of ending, without point of arrival. only steady movement and steady feeding, suitable for returning again to the same calm sequence, where grass bends and rises, where steps follow steps, where internal rhythms remain constant, and the quiet pattern carries on. As open land stretches on, small changes in slope and soil continue to guide step placement, hooves meeting ground with the same even pressure, inner pads compressing, outer walls maintaining shape, balance preserved through tiny corrections that do not alter pace. Feeding remains the central activity, heads lowering, lips gathering stems, chewing following steady circular paths, saliva supporting fermentation conditions, microbes continuing their work in warm liquid spaces, breaking down fibers into usable compounds, energy entering circulation in gentle streams, sustaining muscle tone and organ function without peaks or drops. This steady supply supports posture and movement over long spans of time, allowing muscles to remain active without fatigue, joints moving through limited ranges that protect cartilage and connective tissue, preventing strain through constant low-load motion. Vision remains wide and inclusive, shadows drifting across grass registered without reaction, spacing maintained as bodies adjust their distance by small shifts in direction, ears turning slowly as sound patterns change with wind and terrain, responses limited to posture and alignment rather than movement speed. Thermal balance continues through insulation and circulation, fleece guiding airflow near the skin, vessels adjusting diameter gradually, preventing abrupt changes in core temperature, light rain or dry wind passing without altering behavior, only moisture and air moving through fibers while internal conditions remain stable. Digestive chambers continue their sequence through rest and activity, fermentation producing both nutrients and warmth, later compartments absorbing minerals and energy, waste passing onward at slow, predictable rates, supporting regular elimination cycles that do not interrupt feeding rhythm. Across long periods, this predictability maintains internal homeostasis, reducing metabolic stress and supporting long-term health. Seasonal transitions continue to shape plant growth, yet grazing remains uniform, intake balanced by time spent feeding rather than by speed, extended daylight increasing total consumption, shorter days compressing feeding into fewer hours while digestion continues overnight. Hormonal signals align these shifts gradually, influencing appetite and fleece growth over weeks, ensuring preparation rather than reaction. In managed settings, pasture boundaries guide direction but not internal pacing. Once gates open, movement resumes with no change in feeding behavior, spacing adjusting to new surroundings within minutes, vision and hearing integrating new patterns into the same background awareness, water sources appearing at familiar intervals, brief drinking followed by immediate return to grazing, hydration maintained without prolonged stops, kidneys continuing regulation to preserve fluid balance, supporting circulation and temperature control during long activity periods. Rest remains distributed rather than clustered, short pauses between feeding bouts, longer stillness during low light, yet digestion and microbial activity continue without pause, internal systems remaining active even when bodies are motionless. Across repeated cycles of day and season, the same coordination persists, sensing, pacing, digestion, and regulation forming a continuous loop, no single stage existing without the others, movement supporting digestion, digestion supporting movement, regulation maintaining both. The landscape offering gentle variation while the internal pattern remains constant. And as the flock continues across familiar ground, grass bending under steady steps and rising again after passage, the quiet rhythm extends forward, without signal, without destination, only ongoing grazing and gentle motion, steps aligning with steps, chewing aligning with chewing, internal balance maintained through slow microbial work and steady physiological control, suitable for repeating paths, repeating days, repeating seasons, flowing back into the same calm sequence where movement and stillness blend, where sensing remains soft and wide, where pacing remains even, where digestion remains constant, and the pattern continues without end, without beginning, only quiet continuation across open land under steady air. Across familiar ground, slight changes in plant height and soil texture continue to guide quiet adjustments. Hooves pressing into firmer patches, then into softer areas where moisture remains below the surface. Pressure shifting without altering overall pace. Joints absorbing minor differences in terrain through steady alignment and low-force motion. Feeding remains continuous. Lips selecting stems. Jaws moving in slow circles. Saliva maintaining balanced conditions inside fermentation chambers. Microbial communities continuing their steady conversion of fiber into usable compounds. Heat released in small amounts, contributing to stable body temperature during cooler air movement. Nutrients entering circulation gradually, supporting muscle tone and organ function without surplus or deficit. Posture during grazing remains efficient, spine forming a gentle curve, shoulders distributing load across forelimbs, hind limbs supporting short forward steps. Energy expenditure kept low through repetitive economical movement. Vision continues to register wide arcs of motion. Spacing maintained as bodies shift slightly when distance narrows or widens. Ears turning gently as wind patterns change, detecting shifts in sound density rather than distinct events. Responses remaining limited to alignment and posture. Thermal balance continues through insulation and circulation. Fleece guiding airflow near the skin. Surface vessels adjusting diameter over minutes, preventing sudden changes in internal temperature. Light and shadow passing across bodies without altering feeding rhythm. Digestion proceeds through all phases regardless of activity. Fermentation continuing during movement and rest. Later compartments absorbing minerals and energy. Waste moving onward at slow, predictable rates, supporting internal stability through long sequences of similar days. Seasonal cues continue to guide wool growth and appetite. Daylight length influencing hormonal patterns that shift gradually, preparing bodies for cooler or warmer conditions without abrupt change. Fibers shedding slowly, new growth appearing beneath older layers, insulation maintained without interruption. In managed landscapes, gentle guidance between areas introduces new grass without altering internal pacing. Once movement begins, feeding resumes immediately. Spacing adjusts within moments. Sensory systems integrating new surroundings into the same broad background awareness. Water intake remains brief and efficient. Bodies approaching sources, drinking in short sequences, then returning to nearby forage. Hydration maintained through steady regulation rather than prolonged stops. Rest follows the same structure across cycles. Bodies lowering gradually, limbs folding under mass, respiration slow and regular, heart rate remaining low, digestion and microbial activity continuing without pause, energy supply maintained even in stillness. With returning light, movement resumes in the same calm manner. No acceleration, no delay, simply continuation of the previous rhythm. Feeding paths overlapping earlier ones. Grass bending and rising again after passage. Across years, this continuity shapes form and function. systems tuned for stability, behavior tuned for sustained low-effort activity, adaptation occurring through regulation rather than reaction, the landscape offering gentle variation while internal processes remain constant. And as the flock continues across open ground where soil and grass blend into familiar textures, the quiet coordination of sensing, pacing, digestion, and regulation remains in motion, step following step, chewing following chewing, spacing maintained through peripheral awareness, temperature balanced through insulation and slow vascular control, nutrients supplied through layered fermentation and gradual absorption, all flowing together without separation, suitable for returning to the same calm sequence, where movement blends into stillness and back again, where days resemble days and seasons resemble seasons, where no clear ending appears, only steady grazing and gentle motion across quiet land under slow-moving air, looping softly into the same pattern. As the pattern carries forward, subtle differences in ground firmness continue to shape each step, hooves meeting compacted paths, then softer growth along edges, pressure shifting across pads and walls without altering cadence, joints aligning through repeated motion that protects connective tissue over long periods. Feeding remains steady, lips drawing in stems, jaws tracing slow, even circles, saliva buffering fermentation, maintaining stable conditions for microbial communities that process fiber into simple nutrients, gases moving upward gently, warmth released in small amounts, contributing to internal temperature balance during cooler airflow, nutrients entering blood in gradual streams, sustaining muscle activity and organ function without spikes in demand. Posture during movement remains efficient, spine maintaining gentle alignment, shoulders and hips sharing load evenly, minimizing strain through continuous low-intensity work. Vision continues to cover wide lateral fields, movement at the edges prompting slight shifts in spacing, cohesion maintained without clustering, ears rotating slowly as sound textures change with wind and vegetation, responses remaining limited to alignment rather than direction or speed. Thermal regulation continues through fleece structure and vascular adjustment, outer fibers guiding airflow and moisture away from skin, inner layers retaining still air, surface vessels widening or narrowing over minutes, keeping core temperature within narrow limits. Digestion continues uninterrupted through rest and activity, fermentation ongoing in primary chambers, absorption occurring downstream, minerals and energy entering circulation steadily, waste progressing at predictable rates, supporting internal stability across long sequences of similar conditions. Seasonal change continues to influence plant structure, yet intake remains balanced by time spent grazing rather than speed of feeding, longer days allowing extended intake, shorter days compressing feeding into fewer hours while digestion proceeds through the night. Hormonal signals guide these shifts gradually, influencing appetite and wool growth over weeks, ensuring preparation rather than reaction. In managed systems, movement between fields introduces new forage without altering internal pacing. Once boundaries open, grazing resumes immediately, spacing adjusts within moments. Sensory systems integrating new visual and acoustic patterns into the same broad background awareness. Water visits remain brief. Bodies approach, drink, return to nearby grass. Hydration maintained through steady kidney regulation and balanced electrolyte control. Rest periods remain distributed, short pauses during feeding, longer stillness during low light. Yet digestion and microbial work continue without pause. Energy supply maintained even when bodies are motionless. Over time, repeated exposure to this structure shapes physiology toward endurance and balance. Systems tuned for slow adjustment, behavior tuned for continuity rather than urgency. Adaptation occurring through regulation rather than rapid response. And as the flock continues across quiet ground where grass bends and rises after passage, the same coordination of sensing, pacing, digestion, and thermal balance extends forward. Step following step, chewing following chewing, internal rhythms holding steady beneath changing light and gentle air. No marker of arrival, no signal of closure, only ongoing grazing and gentle motion, suitable for returning again to the same calm sequence, where days resemble days and seasons resemble seasons, where movement and stillness blend without boundary. Across the same open stretches, minor shifts in moisture and light continue to guide quiet adjustments. Dew forming in early hours, softening plant surfaces and reducing resistance during intake. Later drying, bringing firmer textures that extend chewing time without altering pace. Saliva production increasing slightly to support buffering within fermentation chambers. Microbial communities responding through gradual changes in activity rather than sudden shifts in composition. Energy release remaining stable across these small variations. Step placement continues to reflect surface conditions. Hooves compressing softer soil at edges of paths, then meeting firmer centers shaped by repeated movement. Balance maintained through tiny muscular corrections that remain invisible in overall posture. Joints moving through familiar arcs that distribute load evenly and preserve cartilage over long periods. Vision continues to register broad motion fields. Spacing maintained as bodies drift closer or farther through slight directional changes. Ears rotating gently as sound density shifts with wind speed and vegetation height. Responses remaining limited to alignment and posture. Thermal balance continues through insulation and circulation. Fleece managing airflow and moisture. Surface vessels adjusting slowly, preventing rapid internal temperature change even when clouds pass or sun returns. Digestion proceeds through all phases without interruption. Fermentation continuing to break down fiber. Later compartments absorbing minerals and energy. Steady nutrient flow supporting muscle tone and organ function during both movement and rest. Elimination cycles occurring predictably without disrupting grazing rhythm. Seasonal signals continue to guide wool growth and appetite. Daylight length influencing endocrine patterns that shift over weeks, preparing bodies for cooler or warmer conditions without abrupt metabolic change. Fiber shedding occurring gradually, new growth appearing beneath older layers, insulation preserved without gaps. In managed landscapes, gentle guidance continues to align grazing with pasture recovery. Animals shifting to new areas while internal cycles remain unchanged. Once movement begins, feeding resumes immediately, spacing adjusting within moments through peripheral sensing, water intake remaining brief and efficient, hydration maintained through steady regulation rather than prolonged stops, rest following the same structural pattern, bodies lowering gradually, limbs folding to distribute weight evenly, respiration slow and regular, digestion and microbial activity continuing through stillness, energy supply maintained even when motion pauses. With returning light, movement resumes without transition, grazing continuing as if no separation exists between days, feeding paths overlapping earlier ones. Grass bending and rising again after passage. Across years, this continuity reinforces physiological stability. Systems tuned for endurance and balance. Behavior tuned for sustained low-effort activity. Adaptation occurring through regulation rather than rapid response. the landscape offering gentle variation while internal processes remain constant. And as the flock continues across quiet ground shaped by light, moisture, and plant growth, the same coordination of sensing, pacing, digestion, and thermal regulation remains in motion. Step following step, chewing following chewing, internal rhythms holding steady beneath shifting sky and slow air. No signal of ending, no marker of beginning, only ongoing grazing and gentle movement, suitable for returning again to the same calm sequence, where movement blends into stillness and back again, where days resemble days and seasons resemble seasons, and the quiet pattern continues, looping softly into itself. As the quiet cycle carries on, faint changes in wind direction shift how air moves through fleece, outer fibers leaning with the flow while inner layers remain still, insulation preserved as circulation near the skin adjusts slowly. Feeding continues without pause, stems gathered in small groups, chewing remaining even and unhurried, saliva maintaining balanced conditions for fermentation, microbial work proceeding at stable rates despite minor differences in plant moisture and fiber structure, nutrients entering circulation gradually, supporting muscle activity and organ function without peaks in demand. Posture during grazing remains aligned for efficiency, shoulders and hips sharing load evenly, spine maintaining gentle curvature that reduces strain across long hours of low-intensity movement. Vision continues to cover wide lateral fields, shadows drifting across grass registered without reaction, spacing preserved as bodies shift through slight changes in direction rather than speed, ears turning in slow arcs as sound textures change with terrain and vegetation height, responses limited to posture and alignment. Thermal regulation continues through layered fleece and slow vascular control, surface vessels widening or narrowing over minutes, preventing abrupt changes in internal temperature when clouds pass or sun returns. Digestion proceeds through fermentation and absorption without interruption. Heat released in small amounts contributes to baseline warmth, later compartments supplying minerals and energy at steady rates, elimination cycles occurring predictably and quietly, supporting internal balance across long sequences of similar conditions. Seasonal cues continue to shape wool growth and appetite through hormonal signals that adjust gradually, fibers lengthening or shedding over weeks, ensuring continuous coverage and stable insulation. In managed areas, movement between fields introduces new forage while internal pacing remains unchanged. Once boundaries open, grazing resumes immediately, spacing adjusts within moments through peripheral sensing, water visits remain brief and efficient, bodies approach, drink, return to nearby grass, hydration maintained through steady kidney regulation and electrolyte balance. Rest remains distributed through the cycle, brief pauses between feeding bouts, longer stillness during low light, yet digestion and microbial activity continue without pause, energy supply maintained even when bodies are motionless. With returning light, movement resumes in the same calm manner, no acceleration, no hesitation, simply continuation of the previous rhythm. Feeding paths overlapping earlier ones, grass bending and rising again after passage. Across seasons and years, this continuity shapes physiology toward endurance and stability. Systems tuned for slow adjustment, behavior tuned for sustained low-effort activity. Adaptation occurring through regulation rather than rapid response. And as the flock continues across open ground where soil and grass blend into familiar textures, the quiet coordination of sensing, pacing, digestion, and temperature balance remains in motion. Step following step, chewing following chewing, internal rhythms holding steady beneath changing light and gentle air, no marker of arrival, no signal of closure, only ongoing grazing and gentle movement, suitable for returning again to the same calm sequence, where days resemble days and seasons resemble seasons, where movement and stillness blend without boundary. Across ground that changes only in small degrees, the same quiet adjustments continue, slight rises guiding step height, shallow dips shifting weight through joints without altering cadence, hooves compressing and releasing with each contact, inner pads absorbing minor impacts, outer walls maintaining structure and protection. Feeding remains continuous, lips gathering stems with gentle precision, jaws moving through slow, even circles, saliva supporting stable fermentation, microbial communities maintaining balanced activity as fiber types shift subtly from place to place, nutrients released and absorbed in gradual streams, sustaining muscles and organs without fluctuation. Posture remains efficient for long duration, neck and spine aligned to reduce tension, shoulders and hips sharing load evenly, limbs operating in steady, low-force cycles that favor endurance. Vision continues to cover wide lateral fields, motion at the edges prompting slight changes in spacing, cohesion preserved without crowding, ears turning gently as wind and vegetation shape soft sound layers, responses limited to alignment rather than movement speed. Thermal balance remains supported by fleece structure and slow vascular response, outer fibers guiding air and moisture away from skin, inner layers trapping still air, surface vessels adjusting diameter over minutes, preventing sudden internal temperature change. Digestion proceeds through fermentation and absorption without pause. Heat released in small amounts contributes to baseline warmth, later compartments delivering minerals and energy at steady rates, elimination occurring predictably and quietly, supporting internal stability across long sequences of similar days. Seasonal signals continue to guide wool growth and appetite, daylight length influencing endocrine patterns that shift gradually, preparing bodies for cooler or warmer conditions without abrupt metabolic change, fibers shedding slowly, new growth appearing beneath older layers, insulation preserved without interruption. In managed environments, gentle movement between areas continues to align grazing with pasture recovery. Internal rhythms remain unchanged. Once movement begins, feeding resumes immediately. Spacing adjusts within moments through peripheral sensing. Water intake remains brief and efficient. Hydration maintained through steady kidney regulation and electrolyte balance. Rest follows the same structural pattern, bodies lowering gradually, limbs folding to distribute weight evenly, respiration slow and regular, digestion and microbial work continuing through stillness, energy supply maintained even when motion pauses. With returning light, movement resumes as continuation rather than restart. Feeding paths overlapping earlier ones, grass bending and rising again after passage. Across years, this repetition shapes bodies toward stability, systems tuned for gradual adjustment, behavior tuned for continuity rather than urgency, adaptation occurring through regulation rather than rapid response, the landscape offering gentle variation while internal processes remain constant. And as the flock continues across open ground shaped by light, moisture, and plant growth, the same coordination of sensing, pacing, digestion, and thermal regulation remains in motion, step following step, chewing following chewing, internal rhythms holding steady beneath shifting sky and slow air. No signal of ending, no marker of beginning, only ongoing grazing and gentle movement, suitable for returning again to the same calm sequence, where movement blends into stillness and back again, where days resemble days and seasons resemble seasons, and the quiet pattern continues. As the rhythm carries forward without interruption, the same gentle balance remains in place, ground firmness shifting only slightly beneath each step, hooves meeting soil with even pressure, joints absorbing motion through familiar arcs, muscles continuing low-force cycles that conserve energy over long spans. Feeding persists as the central, steady action, lips gathering stems, jaws tracing slow circles, saliva sustaining stable fermentation, microbial communities maintaining their quiet work of converting fiber into usable compounds, warmth released in small amounts, nutrients entering circulation gradually, supporting posture, movement, and organ function without peaks or drops. Vision continues to register wide lateral motion, spacing preserved through small directional changes rather than changes in speed, cohesion maintained without clustering, ears turning gently as sound textures drift with wind and vegetation, responses remaining limited to alignment and posture. Thermal balance continues through layered fleece and slow vascular control, air moving through outer fibers, inner layers holding still warmth, surface vessels adjusting over minutes, preventing sudden internal shifts. Digestion proceeds through all chambers without pause, fermentation, absorption, and steady waste movement continuing regardless of activity or rest. Internal stability preserved across long sequences of similar conditions. Seasonal signals remain gradual, daylight length guiding appetite and wool growth through slow endocrine change, fibers shedding and regrowing over weeks, insulation maintained without interruption. In managed or open landscapes, movement introduces new forage while internal pacing remains unchanged. Once space opens, grazing resumes immediately. Spacing adjusts through peripheral sensing. Water intake remains brief and efficient. Hydration regulated through steady kidney function and balanced circulation. Rest follows the same structure, bodies lowering gradually, limbs folding to distribute weight evenly, breathing slow and regular, digestion and microbial activity continuing through stillness. Energy supply maintained even when motion pauses. With light returning, movement continues as if no boundary exists between night and day. Feeding paths overlapping earlier ones. Grass bending and rising again after passage. Across years and seasons, this continuity shapes form and function toward endurance and calm stability. Systems tuned for slow adjustment, behavior tuned for sustained low-effort activity, adaptation occurring through regulation rather than rapid response, the landscape offering gentle variation while internal processes remain constant. And as the flock continues across familiar ground where soil and grass blend into the same soft textures, the quiet coordination of sensing, pacing, digestion, and temperature balance remains in motion. Step following step, chewing following chewing, internal rhythms holding steady beneath changing light and steady air. No point of arrival, no sign of closure. Only ongoing grazing and gentle movement, suitable for returning again to the same calm sequence, where movement and stillness blend without boundary, where days resemble days and seasons resemble seasons, where the pattern flows back into itself and continues and continues and continues.